A lot of people recently have been talking about Falcons Esports, so today we're going to break down maybe why some people don't like the Falcons and what this recent drama has been, especially pertaining to the Call of Duty scene. So buckle up, peeps. Hope we're all doing well. Drink some water and coffee during this. Maybe grab a snack and leave a comment down below as we bounce into the Falcons and the recent controversy being they have now been rumored, and well, now it's actually real. They've been entering the Call of Duty League. They've officially purchased their spot and will be joining the league with a roster by some eyes out there, maybe not up to par with the corresponding competitors in that already limited league of just 12 teams. Yes, that's less than 50 players at the top of the Call of Duty scene that can perform for the biggest prize pools and actually make a name for themselves. It's been ups and downs with the CDL and this franchise system, whether you like it or not, and now the Falcons have finally taken one of those spots. Keep in mind, it is rumored that other teams are interested in selling, and many more teams are interested in buying into this franchise system, which shouldn't be around anyway. It should be open, Call of Duty, but this is what we are currently stuck with, 12 teams, and evidently if you want to join the league, well, now you got to pay for your spot. And Falcons, they have plenty of money to do so. And the number one reason I would say why a lot of the Falcons moves are controversial is because they are a Saudi-backed organization, in case you did not know that, and they have not been shy in spending a bunch of money to land the best rosters possible in multiple esports. If you look over the history of the past 6 months to year and a half with the Falcons organization, they have dumped loads of money into several different esports and trying to get some of the best rosters that have ever come from those games, and also some of the highest paid rosters in those games' history. We look towards Counter-Strike. Their team has not quite met expectations on paper, but this is also a rumored team who has offered people like Nico and Munaseet and some of the top names in the game upwards of like $70,000 to $80,000 per month to play for them. And again, still on paper, one of the better teams in CS. They have not really performed up to those expectations, but this is a multi-million-dollar roster they're trying to put together, and we'll see if they eventually come to fruition. So that's just Counter-Strike. Then you look towards Apex Legends, where they have now the rumored highest paid roster of all time in Apex Esports. You got Zero, you got Jen Burton, and you got the one and only Imperial Hal. Yes, pulling them away from their teams, but pulling Hal away from TSM. He was a mainstay for that team. If Hal is leaving TSM after 4 to 5 years and being really the face of what remains of that team, he's being paid a lot of money to do so, and that is by a lot of eyes out there, not just the highest paid, but one of the best rosters in the entire game. Almost would have had the last event. Unfortunately, fell a bit short because Apex Esports is nuts. You can also look over the same exact thing for Overwatch. They have one of the best teams in the world. For Rocket League, the same could be said, and the list goes on and on and on. Warzone, they have the best team in trio in the entire world, that being Biffle, Shifty, and Hisoka. Do you guys get where I'm going with this? The Falcons have money, they are willing to spend it, and for most of the esports they join, they try and get the best roster possible, and they pay a lot of money to do so, and they have flooded this money they have flooded the scene with a lot of money, and that money may be coming from a controversial place, which is often why opinions are quite divided on them. And that makes sense. That is totally understandable. But this Call of Duty drama is a bit different, because the backlash from the Call of Duty scene is because they've actually vied for a bit of a different example when it comes to the Call of Duty League. They didn't go for the best roster available. They didn't try and spend the most money they possibly could. They actually went for a regional team that actually represents them as Saudi and the MENA region, and that is the team they went with. I believe this is the same roster that recently competed at the Esports World Cup, have now officially been signed, and are now going to compete in the Call of Duty League. And it's been met with mixed reviews of whether or not this roster can actually compete in the Call of Duty League, with people like Octane at first just laughing, then later giving his full thoughts, saying they will improve very quickly because they've been sent from a completely underdeveloped region in COD in the literal peak of competition. Improvement will absolutely happen. Think Europe pre-CDL after they were able to get out of region lock and compete in North America. My area of concern is now we have 2 CDL organizations that have rosters entirely predicated on region-specific players. 8 spots are essentially locked until they show otherwise. People have complained about the talent being top-heavy for so long, and now an org that's venturing into every esport under the sun has joined the CDL with a roster that won't be competitive at first, with a relatively low ceiling and a lot of catching up to do. Call me a pessimist, but the upside is unknown to me here. To which I wanted to respond because yes, it is certainly a different strategy from Falcons than we have seen before, but if you guys have been following the Falcons, and some of this maybe rightfully so, it all depends of your opinions on having a Saudi-backed organization dump tons of money into the esports scene. Whether you like that or not, that is totally up to you. Regardless of that though, even when they signed the best roster in Apex, there were some haters. And the same can be said for CS. Well, if you have any team in CS, you can face a lot of flack if you don't meet expectations, and so on and so forth. You know, you sign the best roster and you're going to get haters because you just paid a bunch of money to get the best team. And now with CDL, they actually choose a team that represents them as a region, and people are also still hating. So I was curious, like, what the middle ground was. Is there ever going to be a solution for Falcons to be in esports? And maybe not. Maybe people will always hate, and that's just like, welcome to esports, right? As Sam later said, I think in this specific situation, joining the league and immediately fielding a MENA challenger team to compete in North America to bring them up to speed while building off their Vegas roster prior would have been a good move. And then recommending said roster would have been a solid foundation, and trying your luck in roster mania while allowing your regional players to improve seems like a win-win. Someone like Bean saying, I don't get why they wouldn't put them in NA challengers, and if they started looking really good, put them in. If not, it's fine, they'll develop and you could look for putting them in next year while also improving their English. Include challengers prize pools being lowered every year, and it's a scary time to be an aspiring COD player. Exceed saying, not even going to mention myself, but I feel so bad for the challenger players that work their arses off to get into the league for some crap like this to happen. Good heavens. Then Joey, why did I just see an auto-lock 12th place team enter the league? Why do orgs keep doing this? I can just send the routing and account number if they want to blow cash. And Parasite having his thoughts, and so on and so forth. And you're never going to please anyone. I totally understand the flip side of this of, yes, maybe some aspiring challenger players deserve that spot over these guys, but at the end of the day, it's a franchise system that allowed Falcons to buy their way in, and so they can choose the roster they do so please. And if they want that roster to represent them as an organization, and they want those players to really improve, like there's two sides 100%, and there certainly are bad sides and certainly are good sides. But also for me, outside looking in, you guys can disagree or agree, the CDL has been top heavy for so long now. I don't know if I can blame an organization for wanting to sign a few guys that represent them as opposed to, you know, just dumping money on having the best team if that's not what matters to them. If what matters to them is having players slowly get better for their region and having some representation in the Call of Duty League that they paid to be a part of, like, I mean, so be it, right? Like that's part of the unfortunate game of, again, this franchise system that is in place right now. Like I've talked about this for a couple of years now. Hunter had this idea. I would never have blamed an esports organization in the CDL if they had signed 4 Warzone players for a year of Call of Duty. I imagine that would not go over well in the CDL community, and I think you could probably argue, and some people would try and argue that 4 Warzone players maybe could do better than this Falcons roster. I don't know, right? I don't know that for a fact. But I wouldn't have blamed them because that would just twist things up, and you already have a bottom half of the league that isn't doing much anyway, competitive-wise. And so there's so many variables when it comes to looking at this. I feel for the aspiring players who had a chance at a team, but would a different team have signed those players anyway? We don't know. And at the end of the day, it's 4 players. That's 4 spots. In a league that only has less than 50, it looks like a lot, right? And I understand both sides. But that is the Falcons drama / controversy in esports as of late. They are dumping money everywhere but Call of Duty, it seems. It seems they spent that money to probably get the spot, right? So they're going to be in esports seemingly for a while, and we'll see how this roster does. And if they can prove a lot of the haters wrong, what do you guys think? Till next time, drink up, take care of yourselves. We'll see you back here soon.